Guys, food addiction is very real, and I want to explain to you why that is and some ways that you can start to take control of that, because weight loss is almost impossible if you don't look at your food intake as an addiction. So a lot of people understand that we need to have our balance of calories in, calories out. We need to be in a deficit so that we're using the fat on our bodies as like a battery, really. We're using that up to make up for the deficit from the calories consumed compared to the calories we're burning. We're burning more calories, so we have to use the battery storage. Look, most people understand that. And a lot of people try and outrun their diets, as the old phrase. It's impossible to outrun your diet, but the truth is it's really hard to outrun an addiction. Now, people who are trying to lose weight, their problem is not on the calories outside. Their problem is the calories inside, and they never manage to stick to their diet for long on the calories inside. And that's because it's an addiction, and most people are not treating it that way. What they're doing is they're trying to willpower their way through it by just restricting, making it virtually impossible to stick to it for more than a couple of weeks. It's like when people try and give up smoking, they last like 10 days on average. I think it's like the best, obviously ranging from like hours to weeks, months and years for some, but most people will only last 10 days with willpower. Now, if you treat it properly as an addiction and start to understand how the addiction is working, then you'll start to master your cravings. Then you'll start to be able to keep control of your calorie intake. Then you'll find weight loss actually super easy. So that's what happened to me. I spent most of my adult life losing weight, putting it back on, losing weight, putting it back on. Then 2015, I started to understand this. Things started to really click for me. In 2015 to 2017, I lost 60 pounds and I've kept it off ever since. And of course, I got sober in 2020, now sober for 5 years. I used to drink 135 units of alcohol a week. I understand addiction, ex-gambling addict, ex-smoker. I've done it all. So the way to work on this is to see that this didn't used to be a problem. Food addiction did not used to be a problem. Now, why is that? That's because foods previously didn't have the combinations of sugar and fat, and they weren't processed the same way, such that they gave us a dopamine hit. So that is the main thing to consider, right? Is that the food these days can give you a dopamine hit. Same as drugs, alcohol, smoking, gambling, sex, phone use, they all can give you a dopamine hit, which means they can become addictive. Because what happens is, the body learns that when it's feeling a negative emotional state, so a negative psychological well-being, if you like, it likes to learn ways to get out of it for when we don't consciously get out of it. Now, you could consciously get out of it maybe by going for a walk in nature, or maybe by meditating, whatever floats your boat, right? But if you don't consciously do it, then your body will send for dopamine. It will like send, we need a pick-me-up. Now, if it knows, if it has learned through years, usually when we're young, of eating food and feeling good, it's like, hey. So it'll say to me, or it'll say inside me, the process is like, Chris doesn't seem to be picking up our state. We hate the stress and the inflammation caused by feeling crappy. Send for food. Send for drink in the past. So that's what's going on. That is the thing that's going on. Negative state, not getting attended to, not generally being looked after. We don't want to feel the feelings, and the body sends for the dopamine, right? So that's the first part of it. You need to understand that. Like on my course, there's a massive section on dopamine mastery. I actually wrote that first. That was, I don't think that was my first course, but one of my early courses. Massive section on dopamine mastery. Now, the other thing, and this goes back to the sugar thing, is that when we eat these sugary foods particularly, is we get a blood sugar spike. Now, in the past, we haven't had these foods that are so much like intense sugar bursts straight away. Yeah, we've had the carb-loaded foods, but what's happened is they've had fibre in them, and they go lower into the gut when they get digested. But now what happens with these sugary foods is it goes straight into the blood. And then what happens is mechanisms go on the body to get that sugar out of the blood as quickly as possible. It's trying to park it as glycogen in the muscles, whatever. It's trying to get rid of it as quickly as possible. Now, what happens is we get the blood sugar spike. And do I need to go this way or this way? We get the blood sugar spike. The body does everything it can to clear the sugar out of the blood. And then so it shoots down really quickly, but then it overshoots and we get this sort of sugar depleted state, or this depletion state, or this lack state. It's only small, but then the body's like feeling a bit low, you know, this is your crashes, and you feel a craving state again, because it's like, okay, we need to just pick up again. But it only needs to pick up this little bit, but we don't. We grab the chocolate again, or the biscuits, or the cookies. Cookies are my thing. Grab the cookies again to pick up, and then of course it shoots high again. So then we end up in a day of roller coaster ride of sugar spike, sugar crash. So that's the problem as well. And we need to, it's not that we need to give up these things. We need to understand the ways of making the spike smaller so the crash isn't so big, so that we don't have to grab the thing again. Because this is just the body. You're trying to fight nature most of the time. But if you can learn to control these things, I'm not saying you have to give them up. If you can learn to control these things, then you won't get the crash so hard and you won't need to pick up again. If you can control your dopamine, if you can control your well-being for serotonin, endorphins and that, then you won't need to, the body won't send for the dopamine to pick you up so often. So these are the main things that I teach my clients. The other part is like more psychological, about what to do with feelings, because so many people are scared of feeling their own feelings. And most of these things are like triggers that are showing us something we need to work on. But that's like a massive topic I'll cover in other videos. So yeah, if you're trying to do this for your clients, if you want to help them, you need to understand what's going on with the dopamine. You need to understand what's going on with the blood sugar spikes and crashes. You need to tell them that they don't need to give up what they're doing, because that will frighten them to death and they won't come to you. But you need to tell them we're going to help them manage it. So if you're the one trying to lose weight, you need to understand that you can still do this stuff, but you have to manage it. You have to take control. You have to control the spikes and crashes. You have to control the dopamine. And then I'm telling you, you will find it really easy to stick to calorie targets, or whatever sort of targets you're using, because you're not fighting nature all day. Most people are just fighting like the wisdom of the body. It's amazing, really, and they're trying to fight it with willpower. You've got no chance. Your conscious willpower has got no chance over the long term against your subconscious. But if you start to learn how to manage these things, you will find it really easy. In the end, when I lost my weight, I couldn't believe how easy it was when I got all this sorted. And then I've managed to keep it off since. So it's like 2016, 17 when I lost my weight. 2025 now, 8 years more, I've kept my weight off. You'll be able to do the same. Once you understand all this, I promise you, you will be able to do the same. Keep going. See you in the next video.